Maybe we just call this a lost cause.
What's up everybody, Tiny here. Today we're going to be making edible keycaps. Some of you may remember that I made an entire keyboard full of food keycaps, and oftentimes a lot of my keycaps, people will say that they look edible or they look like candy. So I'd really like to lean into that, and instead of making keycaps that look like food, we're going to do the opposite and make food that looks like keycaps. Now I actually don't know how to make edible keycaps, so I'm going to be messing around with some stuff that I think could work. Now I don't bake, or actually I don't really cook well at all, so this is kind of very experimental for me, and I have no idea whether or not it's going to work out, but I think it will be a lot of fun to try out. So all this stuff is for making fondant, and I think that would be a great place to start, because a lot of times when I'm working with clay, people are like, oh, that kind of looks like fondant. That's what you're spreading on your keycaps. So it already kind of looks like it. Fondant kind of feels like clay, and I have experience in sculpting, so I thought this would be a great place to start for that. I don't know how to make fondant. I've never made fondant, and I actually tried buying store-made fondant, but I couldn't find it, so we're just gonna have to make it ourselves. So without further ado, let's get cooking. And this is the fondant that I just made. It is pretty dough-like. You can kind of stretch it and pull it. It was a lot of kneading, and my glands got like all sticky with marshmallow stuff.
Get it. Maybe we just call this a lost cause.
Oh, actually, let's do a taste test first too.
Taste test? I'm in.
Fondant kind of generally doesn't taste good, or that's kind of the impression that a lot of people have about fondant. So I'm curious what this tastes like, and hopefully it'll be good. It is very sweet, but just tastes like marshmallows, which is great because marshmallows are sweet and fun to eat, and it's not a bad flavor. So definitely we'll be able to eat the keycap if it tastes like this.
All right, starting off with maybe one of my most known keycap designs, the Kirby. So I'm going to try to make the black here, which I realized was a lot harder than maybe I thought it was. Basically, you have to mix like opposite colors, and then I tried using blue first because it was a dark color, and then had to add some green to make it more dark, I guess, and eventually got to a point where it was black-ish. For the body, I started with a little block of pink, and then I added arms, made a mouth, and made some shoes. Poyo! Look how cute it is. I feel like they look pretty close, as close to I can get it using fondant at least. I mounted it, and this is what it looks like on a keyboard. Next up, doing a cheese keycap. I think cheese is pretty simple, so all I did was add the yellow dye with the fondant to try to create the most cheesiest yellow color here. And then after mounting it, I poked some holes, and looks pretty cheesy to me. Now let's try something a little bit more fishier. I had to add a lot of orange to get that deeper salmon color, and then white for the fatty parts, and I think it actually looks really close. Okay, so I was super excited to try this one. The egg white bottom part was a little bit hard to get the right shape, but I think overall it still looked pretty excellent. Maybe just a little bit thicker than the keycap variant. And last but not least, a dumpling keycap. To be honest, it kind of felt like I was making a tiny dumpling out of dough. The way that the fondant was kind of sticky, and it didn't really shape up quite right to be a keycap, but it does look like a tiny dumpling. Here are the final results with the original keycaps in the back. I don't know, they look pretty good to me. What do you guys think?
on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably give them like a 2 for being actual keycaps because they just aren't really keycaps. They don't really press down. The fondant is a little bit too soft to provide the actual support for the stem. So they look like keycaps from far away, but they actually aren't very useful at all. So we kind of failed maybe in making edible keycaps because the keycap part of it doesn't really work. But I think it was a good attempt, and now I have learned how to make fondant, and maybe I can make these keycaps for cakes or something in the future. If you guys have any evil genius ideas, feel free to post them in the comments, and they might just be inspiration for the next video. All right, catch you guys in the next one.